Juneau's 2025 municipal election is just around the corner. Candidates for Juneau Assembly and School Board are on the ballot this year, alongside 3 questions. 2 aim to reduce the tax burden on individual residents, but it will come at a cost to the city's coffers. The 3rd attempts to boost city tax revenue by increasing the sales tax rate when cruise tourists are in town, then lowering it again in the off-season.
I actually think this is probably the most consequential election we've had locally in the 15 years I've been here.
Christine Wall is a longtime Juneau Assembly member and chairs its finance committee.
Each of these will have a big impact on the city's budget and ability to fund services in our community.
An advocacy group called the Affordable Juneau Coalition gathered enough signatures this spring and summer to place Proposition 1 and 2 on the ballot. Angela Rodell is the treasurer of the group and formerly ran the Alaska Permanent Fund Corporation. She says the propositions are designed to make Alaska's capital city more affordable.
We have a very high cost of living, and that impacts almost everybody except obviously the wealthy.
Proposition 1 seeks to cap the local property tax rate, also known as a mill rate. 1 mill is equal to $1 per $1,000 in property value. Right now, the city caps the mill rate at 12 mills. But if voters pass Proposition 1 this election, that cap would be lowered to 9 mills. Now, that change could lower property taxes for property owners, but it also means the city would take in less revenue each year. The change wouldn't be immediately devastating to the city's roughly $140 million in annual discretionary revenue. But Wall says over time, it could substantially influence the city's ability to fund the services residents usually expect.
It results in about a $2 million loss to city revenue every year, which is significant. But when I think long term, it's maybe less about the money and more about the city's ability to respond to changing environments.
Rodell argues the change will force the Assembly to focus its spending on needs versus wants.
I think we can figure out how to tighten that belt a little bit. And I think it's really imperative that the city show its residents that they care about affordability and want to really focus on the things that make this community very livable.
So that's Proposition 1. Proposition 2 would also shrink the amount of revenue the city brings in each year. The proposition seeks to exempt essential food and residential utilities from local sales tax. Right now, the city taxes food and utilities like just about everything else at 5%. But if the initiative passes, it would drop down to 0% for everyone, regardless of their income. Economists say that taxes on food hit low-income people the hardest. Juneau Assembly member Neil Steininger is an economist, and he supports the concept.
We don't have the supply chains that can provide us, lower cost food like a lot of areas down south do. And then, that really impacts, your day-to-day living because, you got to eat every day.
But he warns that the current 5% tax on food and utilities brings in a combined $10 to $12 million in revenue to the city annually. He says removing that tax would leave a serious hole in the city's budget.
That's more than just a little belt tightening. That's more than just, buying less paper clips and buying less Post-it notes. That's really looking at the overall spectrum of services we provide and choosing some to not provide.
That's why the Assembly put Proposition 3 on the ballot, which asks voters whether to implement a new seasonal sales tax system next year. This proposition would raise sales taxes in the summer months and then lower them in the winter. It's aimed at taking advantage of the 1.7 million summer cruise ship tourism visitors that come to town each year. Other nearby southeast towns like Ketchikan, Sitka, and Skagway have similar seasonal sales tax structures already in place. Juneau currently charges 5% in local sales taxes. If voters pass Proposition 3, shoppers would instead pay a 7.5% tax from April through September and a 3% tax from October through March. But Rodell says she'll be voting no on the measure, and the Affordable Juneau Coalition is advocating against it because she says it won't actually save money for year-round residents and businesses.
It needs to go back to the drawing board. They need to do a better job about defining how it's going to help the residents of this community.
The last day to vote in Juneau's by-mail election is October 7th. For KTOO News in Juneau, I'm Clarise Larson.